if How to Train Your Dragon 1 is considered a magnum opus, How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a masterpiece. I don't use masterpiece, that term, too frequent. If a film or a game is good, I'm not just going to slap on the masterpiece sticker. No. I'm very scarce with that word, okay? And the second film deserves it. I watched it 2 days ago, and the last time I watched it was 6 to 8 years ago. First time being in a theater when it came out. And does it hold up? Yes. A lot. I have a couple of criticisms for this film, okay? Let's just talk about them. One, I don't like the villain. Actually, no, that's a bit harsh. I think the villain's cool. He's just not as great as people praise him to be. He's good. He's interesting. But there was so much potential for this character. You could have had Drago, the name of the villain, Drago Bloodfist. You could have had him share a similar origin story to Hiccup. And you could say he's actually the first dragon rider, like years ago. He was like one of us, a Viking, killing dragons, and then he came across a dragon who was wounded, and he sees something different in them. So rather than killing that dragon, he tamed it. He befriended it, and he tried to show the Vikings, look, dragons are not what we think they are. They're cool, similar to Hiccup, right, from the first film. Only difference is Vikings said, "You're stupid. You're wrong. Get out," and exiled his ass. And then Drag would hold a resentment towards the Vikings that for years he would train to become an alpha. Well, not alpha, but be able to communicate with the dragons. You can say goes to the Bewilder Beast, his Bewilder Beast, not the white one. Communicates, with the stick and screaming, rah, rah, telling the alpha, the Bewilder Beast, I hate Vikings, I hate people, they're evil, they're ignorant, they're stubborn, they're closed-minded. I will help you form an army of dragons to take down not only the Vikings at Berk, but everyone, every human in this world. They all deserve to die, alright? To protect dragons. And then he just spends years forming his army. Though, actually, would it make sense to why he would have men to help him then? I don't know, you can make it make sense, right? And then when he actually goes to the meeting with leaders, which is actually shown in the second film, goes to the flashback, he has a meeting with all the Viking leaders, including Stoic, saying that, I know a way to end the dragons for good. All I ask is all of you to kneel for me, as I will be your king, your leader. Everyone laughed, he left, and the dragons burned and killed everyone except Stoic. There are some you could have him be the evil version of Hiccup. It's right there. And what's even sadder is what I discovered from the behind the scenes of How to Train Your Dragon 2. Dragon was actually supposed to be a setup in this film for 3, the third film. And the original main antagonist for the second film was actually going to be Valka, Hiccup's mother. And you could... Alright, here's the thing. Did any of you notice a, not total shift, but an odd shift in her character after Hiccup said to his mom that he shut down Toothless? Before he said that, she was feral. She was, she's animalistic with her head twitching, her movements, able to communicate with the dragons with ease with just a stick and all his hand movements. Not speaking very much, she's mysterious, even with her armor being odd. And then up to the point when Hiccup said, I shot down Toothless, and she had this horrific expression. What? She just becomes a normal mom. A normal human being. We don't see her odd movements ever again. Nothing. Why? Because Originally, after Hiccup said, "Oh, I shot down Toothless," she's supposed to go nuts. Crazy. I mean it. She would be like, "Oh, you're one of them. You abuse dragons. You kill them just to use them to your advantage for world power." And similar to Drago, nah, shame on you. I need. You're my opponent. You're my enemy. You're dead. That's how it was supposed to be. Maybe not as exaggerated as I made it sound to be, but that's how it's supposed to go. It could, in another world where we would have gone that plot, there was a way that could maybe work, but you have to be it would take a while to find the right words, the dialogue, the setting, and everything to make it actually work, rather than a mother who's willing to kill her son and husband that she hasn't seen for 20 years because she assumes they're abusing dragons. And then you could have it where she comes back, she's normal, she's sane, and then Drago kills her right on the spot. There was a way that could work, but that maybe would have been a bit too much for our kids' film. All right, kids are watching this film. That maybe would have been a bit too much, even though we see Stoic die in this film. I don't know, whatever. All I'm saying is Drago had potential to be a great villain. But instead he was... I think even the director, Dean DeBlois, admitted that he was kind of flawed and lame because he had more ambitious plans with Drago, but I guess the DreamWorks, the higher ups were like, nah. Similar to Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi trilogy, where originally Sam Raimi wanted Sandman to be the main villain, but Sony wanted Venom for marketing and toys. So that's why the plot in that film kind of stinked, and Venom as a character. So yeah, Drago had potential. He's just alright. He's cool looking, but he could have been much, much, much better. I haven't watched the third film, so I don't know about the villain in the third film. But I think Drago would have been better and more intimidating. Maybe. Another critique I have about this film: the lack of humor. If you look at the genres where How to Train Your Dragon 1 fits in, there was comedy in one of them. Comedy. In the second film, comedy is replaced with drama. I think so, at least. If drama... Maybe not. Or war. I don't know. And it's true, because there's just not lots of jokes or anything humorful in this second film. Not a huge concern, but it's definitely, what made the first film kind of magical. And apparently, I just discovered this. I'm one of the few people who found the breastplate joke in the first film to be hilarious. Huh. Second film had... I don't remember much jokes in the second film, but one I can remember, which they tried to make funny, which kind of... half funny, half... very kiddie, is, I think her name's Roughnut, developing a massive crush on Eret, son of Eret. Real quick, I love Eret in this film. I love Eret, what's the word I'm looking for? I love his character addition in the world of How to Train Your Dragon. He's cool, he's funny, and I love his redemption arc where he comes from a dragon trapper to now a dragon rider who gets the honor of riding Skullcrusher, which was Stoic's dragon. I love it. And I heard he's even in the third film, which, naturally he should be. He should be. So I'm excited to see him in the third film. He's a cool character. Anyways, yeah, they tried to have this little minor plot line of Roughnut being in love with Eret. Why, you might ask? Because he's muscular. That's it. Maybe he looks attractive, and that's it. That's it. And at the same time, while that's going on, what's his name? Fishlegs, the big kid, and Snoutlout, the cocky kid. Not even kids, like 20 in this film. Well, those two, they have a crush on Roughnut, and they fight each other for her, but she doesn't love either of them. And I find the funny part of this plotline is in the end, when Ruffman has finally developed a crush to them two, they ignore her. They said, "Nah, get out of my way. I actually love my dragon more than you. Get out. You belong to the streets." That's the only funny part of that whole crush plotline. Other than that, it's just And I guess the scene where they both hold upon her, like each arm of hers, and we get like a cinematic shot of their faces as they're riding. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's really the funny part of that plot line. Are there any jokes in the film? What other jokes are in the film? There is one funny ass joke. There is one really, 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 really funny joke in this film. A very subtle joke too, funny enough. A very subtle joke, which I doubt lots of you even understand it. It's the joke that Gobbler makes. Wait, Gobbler? Gobbler. Gobbler makes while Stoic is reuniting, when Stoic is reuniting with Volka. And he's like, Volka's explaining like, "Oh, I know you'll be mad. Stop being stoic," something like that. And Gobbler makes the subtle joke of, "This is why I never got married." Well, that and one other reason. I didn't understand it at first, so I googled, what does Gobbler mean? One other reason. I search. He's gay. Never knew that. I just discovered that. And that's actually kind of cool. Even cool when you find out it's actually an improv by the voice actor. He was never supposed to say that last part. Just say, "That's why I was never married." That's it. Nobody improv'd it, and I guess the director liked it. The director's gay too, if you didn't know, Dean DeBlois. But that's a funny joke, and I don't hate the fact that he's gay. It's actually quite funny. I like how it's subtle, rather than dived into too much, to the point I might bother the parents for the kids to watch. It's funny. It's hilarious. I probably go far to say it's probably the funniest joke so far in the series. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually... So yeah, a film with less humor than How to Train Your Dragon 1 has one joke that outshines the rest of the jokes in the whole series. If you get the joke, I know it flew over many of your heads. Funny nonetheless. And I think that's really all the jokes in this film. Is it? And I guess there's some funny interactions between Toothless and the... What's his name? What or her name? Cloud Jumper, which is Valka's dragon. I like their little brother and big sister dynamic. It's very cute. Very cute. Is it even a female dragon? Let me see if Cloud Jumper is even a female dragon. I imagine she's probably a female dragon. Oh. Oh, he's male. In that case, little brother and big brother dynamic was very cute. And I like how Cloud Jumper has some similar characteristics to an owl, where we see his head turn 180 degrees or something like that, and just calm with his big eyes. I like Cloud Jumper. He's cool. Is that all? Oh, speaking of dynamics, Hiccup's and Aster's dynamic in this film. Perfect. Therapists even classify their relationship as the most healthy and most realistic relationship of all of animation. Maybe not all animation, but maybe all of kids animation ever. And you can see it. Now I think about it, you don't really get much of healthy relationships in kids' films, really. Yeah. What's with that? Actually, the other thing I also realized, this is the first film where we get both of the main characters' parents alive and even interacting with each other. Lots of times it's just dead. Dead or a single parent. And the dynamic between Hiccup and Toothless in this film, still great. Still lovely. I love it. Enhanced from the first film. And it's actually, if I'm correct, the How to Train Your Dragon 2 takes place 5 years after the first film. So they spend lots of time with each other, and you can see their synergy, all on point, and you can tell they're soulmates. They're soulmates. I don't see a pet and owner dynamic here. I see soulmates between these two, the Toothless and Hiccup. Best friends who both sacrificed? Well, saved each other from the first film. In the first film, I mean. I love those two. And this is one thing that makes me skeptical about the live action How to Train Your Dragon, which I haven't watched yet. You see, How to Train Your Dragon 1 is directed by 2 people. The 2 people who directed Lilo and Stitch, by the way, the animated version. Chris Sanders, Dean DeBloy. How to Train Your Dragon 2, 3 in a live action, directed by only Dean DeBloy. And Chris Sanders was, well, I think he still is, the executive producer of DreamWorks, so he had some involvement, but just not as big as he did for How to Train Your Dragon 1. Why I'm talking about this? Chris Sanders, his films, his characters are quirky. They're funny. They're heartfelt. And he worked on The Croods, by the way. That's why he couldn't work on How to Train Your Dragon 2. He was busy working on The Croods. And you see how funny they all are, right? How goofy and etc. Dean DeBloy, his characters are more, or his stories are more dark, mature, war-themed, but still heartfelt. And I even asked ChatGPT about this. What if Chris Sanders only directed How to Train Your Dragon 1 and Dean DeBloy only directed How to Train Your Dragon 1? How different would it be? The answers I got were if Chris Sanders directed How to Train Your Dragon 1, Toothless would have been more like a dog and more ecstatic and bouncier and just happy and more like anthropomorphic. What I mean by that is like he has a personality of a human, acts more like a human without talking or actually acting like a human. Dean DeBlois, if he directed How to Train Your Dragon 1 only, well, if he was the only one who directed How to Train Your Dragon 1, Toothless would have been more animalistic. And the bond between him and Hiccup would be less of best friends and more so a pet and owner dynamic. That makes me skeptical for the live action. And I've seen a few clips. And the clips are usually comparing the dragons from the animated version to the live action. Live actions dragons are noticeably more animalistic than the animated version. That frightens me. I hope they still keep the heart of the film the same as the first film. And I hope the dynamic between Hiccup and Toothless stays the same, if not expanded, in the live action. I hope so. I really hope so. And also, there's apparently less humor in the live action in comparison to the first film, the animated version. That scares me too. Anyways, yeah. So you could tell Dean DeBlois directed, even wrote How to Train Your Dragon 2, because more war-themed, mature subjects, like one of them which I have to respect him for. Stoic dying. Without closure. Originally, it was actually going to be Gobber dying, but Guillermo del Toro, yes, you heard me right, he advised Dean DeBlois, you know what, have Stoic die. It would have a bigger impact on Hiccup's character. And I'm glad they went that route, because I love Gobber, and I actually love Stoic too, but Stoic dying shifted the film, changed the film, and made us think, wait, if Stoic died, any of our beloved characters could die next. Right? And I love how And I just said, he died without closure. He didn't like slowly die and held Hiccup's hand and said, "I love you, son. I see everything in you. You are perfect for Burke. You are the leader they deserve." None of that. None of that. He just dies. Dead. The only other animated film I could think of doing something similar to that is Lion King, which is also a great animated film too, where, what's his name? Mufasa. He dies quick. He just falls to the pit of, not pit, but falls down the, what the hell is that called? He falls on the edge of the cliff, and he dies to a stampede, which, now I think about it, brutal death. Brutal death. And Simba finds him, thinks he's sleeping. Nope, he's dead. He's just dead. And the sad part is Simba sleeps next to his body, thinking he's sleeping too. Very sad. But I think Stoic's death is sadder because I think I haven't been a long time since I watched Lion King. The last discussion Simba and Mufasa had was about Simba being a great king, and Mufasa has no doubt he'd be a great king, or something like that, right? Stoic just reunited with his wife after 20 years. And it wasn't any more than 2 or 3 hours before he dies after just reuniting with his wife. And Hiccup's there thinking, "Yay, my family's together," with the addition of my best friend Toothless and my future wife Astrid. Even Gobber, who's like an uncle to him, is there. Perfect. The family's together and expanded. Nope. Stoic dies. He dies to Hiccup's closest friend, Toothless. Wasn't his fault. But understandably, Hiccup, he didn't want to think too much about it. He said, "Nah, screw you, Toothless. You still killed him. Get out of here." And he doesn't hate Toothless. Even like his mother said, it's not his fault. Hiccup's there, like he understands, like, "Oh, I know, but he's still my fault. My father died. I don't want to think about anything else. I want to think about my father." Very sad scene. Very, very sad scene. And I love the memorial for Stoic, where they put on the boat, have him sail away in the fire, blazing arrows to set the ship on fire. And I love Gubber's speech about him entering Valhalla and sitting on the tables amongst the greatest kings ever. Something like that. I love it. Very sad, but it was done beautifully, handled beautifully. My only criticism is I wish Stoic had some interaction with Toothless, a direct interaction. Well, I mean, Stoic going to Toothless and saying, even though you're a dragon, you are the best part of Hiccup's life, and I'm glad you exist. Something like that, right? Just to make his death even sadder. But we don't. But his death is still amazing. And yeah. Now the climax. I think I prefer How to Train Your Dragon 1's climax to this. How to Train Your Dragon 1's climax, even though it had a weak antagonist, which is Red Death, he only shows up in the climax. That's when he only shows up. Yes, we get like a little scene of him eating a dragon after the romantic flight between Hiccup and Astrid with Toothless. But outside of that, that's the first time we've seen Red Death. We don't even get his name in the first film. But at least the action scene, the final battle, is actually cool. It's decent. Actually, not as decent. It's just cool. Finding the cloud, and even learning about, the weakness of a dragon is the inside and the outside, from when Toothless shot a little fire inside of the baby dragon and puffed up. Toothless did the same for the big dragon, which made his wings burn out, and then straight up kamikaze the ground and dies. I like it. Second film, in my opinion, felt a bit too quick. It felt too quick, and it wasn't. It was just blasting each other. Now, let me go through each scene of the climax. Hiccup tells his gang, distract the Bewilder Beast, the Alpha, while I go try to get Toothless. They do for a while, but then I admit it's actually a bit funny, especially when Fish Legs blowing the horn every time the beast is looking away. But then after the Bewilder Beast destroys the horn, and just when Hiccup reaches Toothless, the Bewilder Beast is looking up straight at them. So the one job they had, they failed. The one job they had, they failed. And that seems technically pointless then, other than being funny, I guess. But and a decent callback to the intro of the movie with the dragon race, with finding the sheeps and whatever. Hiccup trying to bring Toothless back. Cute. But one thing I don't understand. Why didn't Dragon just bonk him in the head? Hiccup in the head? I guess he was highly egotistical. He wanted Hiccup to try. Only to have him think that, no matter how you try, no matter how hard you try to bring back Toothless, your dragon, the Alpha will control on these dragons are nothing in comparison to your compassion. Hiccup proved him wrong. Toothless yanked Drago off his back. Hiccup gets on Toothless' back, and then stuff happened. I don't want to go scene by scene. The one part I do like is when the dragons that the Alpha was controlling goes to Toothless' side. It shows that Toothless earned their loyalty, whereas Alpha forced their loyalty to him. I like that. And then, after the tusk has been blown off of the Alpha, or this was an Alpha, he dives into water, dragging Drago with him. Which makes us assume that Drago died to drowning. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool, but you could have done more. You could have done more. Yeah, you could have definitely done more. I wish we had a proper fight scene between Drago and Hiccup, or at least Drago with Stoic. We get like a 2-second fight scene between Drago and Stoic, which was actually cool. Seeing how these big, bulky men can fight real quick with technique. But then that was it. that was it. Yeah, the climax is slightly anticlimactic, but it's cool nonetheless. It's cool. And then it ends with extra more dragons in Berk. His mother, a big statue in memory of Stoic, and Hiccup being the chief of Berk, as well as Toothless being the alpha of these dragons. And then the film ends happily ever after till How to Train Your Dragon 3. Another thing I want to talk about. The music. Not as iconic as How to Train Your Dragon 1's, but they're still great. I think the best one easily being when we see Hiccup and Toothless for the first time in this film. What's it called? With John Powell again and a band, Yonsei. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I like that song. Really nice song. Great song. And the rest of the soundtracks are a bit different. It shifted differently, edited differently from the first one. It's like, what I mean by that, they're using the same soundtracks from the first one, just edited differently, I think. This is what it feels like. It didn't feel as memorable as the first film soundtrack. But doesn't really matter to me. The first film soundtrack is amazing, stellar. I don't mind seeing them being reused a bit in the second film, with some additions. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about this film. Let me think. I guess there's also a huge variety of dragons, cool locations. Now I'm stretching the video further than it should be. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on this film. Whether you like it more or less than the first film. Some people like it more than the first film. And I can see why. The first film's more beautiful and slowish. Here is more epic. Here it's a lot more epic and a bit quick, right? Quick and slow at the same time. Anyways, have a great day or night, and I'll see y'all soon. Take care.